up, you guys? This is Rob from Gay Plays, and today on the Daily Grind, we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. We're going to be taking a reverse look at Zephyr Prime Access. And I know you guys are like, what are you talking about? A reverse look? What the hell is that? Well, I figured we would go ahead and re-review the weapons and Warframe that are coming up in this next pack, mainly because of the fact that we don't know where we can go if we don't know where we came from, right? So I figured let's go ahead and jump at the root of the cause, and let's start things off with actually Zephyr herself. Now, the main reason that I wanted to go ahead and talk about this was because I saw some triggering comments yesterday, one of which that I felt a little snappy with. Somebody had said, well, Zephyr is completely useless. And I'm like, oh baby, do you not play Warframe? Do you not know how Zephyr works? So I figured that I would actually go ahead and show you something a little bit interesting to show you exactly how awesome Zephyr is. She's not perfect, but she's definitely got some chops. Alright, now you guys are probably looking at this and saying, I thought we were going to talk about Zephyr. Why do we have Chroma loaded up? Now, the big reason behind this is because during today's stream, I was actually showing people a really cool synergy with Chroma and the Hema, right? And I called it the Crema. However, I wanted to show you exactly what combat with Chroma kind of looks like on the higher tiers. So, I went ahead and kept the exact same thing I showed off on stream. We have 3 Corrupted Heavy Gunners, 3 Corrupted Bombards, 3 Corrupted Lancers. All of them are at level 150, and of course the invincibility is off, because I wanted to show you exactly what it is when we have Chroma fighting at these extremely high levels, right? Did I actually summon them? Let's make sure we simulate them. And it's mainly because of the fact that one of the strongest points with Zephyr is the fact that, ooh, you better run, bitch. Alright, we're at maximum stacks. So the big thing about Zephyr is how utterly defensive she is. And I want you to pay attention to the way that I'm kind of playing Chroma. You notice I'm kind of like, I'll take hits every now and then. However, for the most part, I'm really kind of just watching timers and kind of like hiding behind places. I'm not necessarily trying to die, but I do want to kind of let Arcane Grace do some of the work for me to keep me healed up. Now, when I'm using the Hema is actually fantastic at keeping you healed, so you don't really have to worry about taking cover as much. But I do want you to pay attention to the fact that with Chroma, I am actively out there trying to seek some cover, trying to take some heat off of me in order to make sure that, you know, I don't die. Like, we're at 290 health right now, which is a little bit risky, but I do want to get hit a little bit to see if I can't trigger Arcane Grace, because Arcane Grace is currently what's keeping me healed. Now, of course, with the Hema, I'm able to kind of, I'm able to pretty much kind of keep my health up because of the headshots that it grants. So as you can see right here, I'm just kind of like refreshing buffs and going through, and I've pretty much killed everything. I think everything is dead now, but as you can see, we're sitting at 198 points of health. So it can get a little bit dicey. Now, of course, we're not always going to be fighting level 155. We're rarely going to be fighting level 155s. But I want to show you the stark difference between the playstyle of Zephyr and Chroma. Now, a lot of people regard Chroma to be a very powerful frame. A lot of people, you know, think that, you know, he's a powerhouse and yada, 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 and so on and so forth. So the question is, what's the big difference? Now, when we have Zephyr, we're literally just using one ability. And as you can see, the combat is much more calm with Zephyr than it is with Chroma. You don't really need to seek cover. You just kind of need to make sure you stay out of things melee ranges, and that's pretty much it, right? That's all you're really doing here. And as you can see, we just kind of gently float up. The combat with Zephyr is much more calm. It's far less stressful than it was with Chroma. And again, we're fighting level 155s. You know, this is just a bunch of 155s, but literally, you probably really couldn't tell all that much. Everything is pretty gosh darn relaxed. Now, as you can see there, we're using her air burst to go ahead and keep ourselves, you know, out of danger while we go ahead and refresh her turbulence buff. But this is far fucking less stressful, right? This is I'm not trying to dip in. I'm not worried about my health. I'm not really stressed about anything. I'm just kind of like, hey, listen, I've got my turbulence on, and I don't really have to. The only thing I gotta worry about is something clocking me from behind. And that is one of Zephyr's big, you know, downsides. But of course, when she's got something that can literally deflect every single fucking projectile that comes at her, you know, that's her trade-off. You know, she's got to have a little bit of a trade-off when it comes down to being able to literally just ignore all bullets that are flying her way, right? So as you can see right here, we're just kind of like no stress, not really tripping over anything. We're kind of done, right? So a very, very different playstyle when it comes to Chroma. You literally just saw her kind of sit there and just, I guess you would say, air tank. She literally just goes ahead and puts up her turbulence, and she really just does not really worry about getting hit, because as long as, you know, they're not melee enemies. And now I'm just pulling out my Lado Prime to show you exactly kind of like how powerful she can be, because the whole thing is, as long as she's got turbulence up, she doesn't really have to worry very much about ranged enemies. Then this is the one thing that I always kind of laugh at when people talk, is like, oh, Zephyr has no DPS, she doesn't have damage boosts, yada yada yada, so on and so forth, right? But the thing about it is, because she's so goddamn powerful defensively, you can load her up with very, very, very strong weapons and kind of like not really try, just kind of easy mode it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, that's the one thing that I always kind of laugh at, is people talk about, well, she doesn't do damage, she doesn't do damage. Well, guess what? Here's the thing that I've learned from playing other video games. If you're DPS, one of the key things that you need to do your DPS is to stay alive. You got no DPS if you're dead. So Zephyr has some really amazing survivability. Now, does that mean she's a perfect frame? Definitely not. She's still got some issues. Of course, her air burst is a new addition to the set, and legitimately, it needs a little bit of a better synergy with her ultimate. Because to be honest with you, like, the synergy of making her ultimate taller isn't really all that great a synergy, if I'm gonna be completely frank with you. I'm like, you need something a little bit better than that. But as you can see here, loaded up with a really powerful weapon, Zephyr pretty much gets free reign to do whatever the fuck she wants on ranged targets. And even on melee targets, the cool thing is you can go ahead and load her up with a sniper rifle, like the Vectis. And as you guys know, this works freaking amazingly with Hunter's munitions, right? Of course, you know, I've got my critical boost ribbons there, and basically, like, all you got to do with Zephyr is just stay out of the way of many of the melee enemies out there, and you can do that with her one. And I'm not saying, you know what I mean, a lot of people have some issues with her one, they're not really fond of it. Of course, we're using it in a tight space here. But as you can see, you can just kind of like take pot shots at things down below. Actually, I feel like I'm a little too high, so I'm going to go ahead and move right on over here. I'm just going to kind of like willy-nilly just jump around and really like not worry so much, because of the fact that, listen, she can stay alive and she can deal her damage. She doesn't really need to like stress too much, and if she needs a little CC to like go ahead and recast her abilities, she has both Tornado. She has both Tornado and she has, you know, other, her air burst to go ahead and do that. As you can see, she's deflecting rockets right there. So, like, Zephyr can really be chill wherever the hell she wants to be, right? It's not any kind of an issue. She's not perfect, but the thing about it is, you know, no Warframe is 100% perfect, right? All Warframes have like one or two abilities that are a little wonkaroonies. And we'll actually go ahead and show the build too in a second, so that you guys can kind of take a look at that and kind of play with that as you wish. I'm actually considering getting rid of Arcane, one of the Arcane Energizes for maybe like a more offensive based Arcane, to kind of give her ability to play with weapons a little bit more of a boost. But legitimately, for people to say that Zephyr is quote-unquote useless just shows a lot of inexperience. Like, they really don't know. Like, the only thing that they know how to do in Warframe is to try to overpower. But as you can see here, Zephyr's like on cruise control. She's like, listen, put me up against, how many was that? Put me up against 4 and 4. That's like 12 level 155s. I'm chilling. And that's Zephyr. And for a frame to just be able to say, no thank you projectiles, I will pass. That's pretty goddamn strong. That is legit. That is legit pretty goddamn strong. Of course, this is simulacrum combat, and, you know, I always have to kind of stress, the bombards do have rockets that can be flung into terrain, and those explosions can, of course, bounce and hit her too. So she's not 100% safe all the time. But, you know, mechanically, if you take a look at how she performed, it's kind of like, hey, peace, we ain't really worried about you. We can just kind of chill out. Now, so I'm thinking for Zephyr's upgrades, a lot of people have been talking about maybe an armor upgrade, like she gets the Banshee treatment where she gets boosted armor and boosted power. Base power, and that's kind of like where I'm sitting right now. I'm thinking that she's probably gonna get a power boost, and I'm almost thinking like a power boost and maybe even a movement speed boost, but I wouldn't be opposed to armor if they gave her a good bump in armor, because as you guys know, Zephyr just innately has 15 armor, and that makes you cry on the inside. So it's either gonna be a boost in armor, or I would say maybe they just go forth and just boost her shields and boost her shields and boost her health as well. I don't know. We'll see, but I do definitely think she's due for an energy increase, because her energy is quite low, sitting at 100. Sprint speed is 1.15, and that's already pretty fast, but you know what? Why not a little bit more? Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Tiberon. Alright, now the Tiberon, let's just look at it at its base. And the way that it stands right now is it's got 26% critical chance and a large critical multiplier. I'm almost thinking that DE is going to do one of two things. Either they're going to go full in on the Tiberon and they're going to be like, give it 30% critical chance and give it a 3 times critical multiplier. Or what they're going to do is they're going to try to balance it out a little bit and give it more status chance and kind of bring that status chance almost up to 26% to kind of like have it meet in the middle, and that would be kind of dope too. I would love to see maybe a reload speed like sped up a little bit, or maybe a larger magazine, one of those two. So we might kind of see some of that. So either DE is going to double down, go full in on the crits, or they're going to kind of go on the other end and try to balance it out with status. But right now, the way that I feel like it, maybe a little bit of reload, maybe a little bit of magazine increase, something along those lines, one of those two. But, you know, I was kind of showing it off with Zephyr, but it kind of maybe have gotten lost in the mix. So we'll go ahead and toss that on and just show how it performs with against some billies. As you can see right there, that's what we were talking about, terrain, how sometimes it can bounce off of terrain. But as you can see here with Hunter's Munitions, because of the fact that it does have a high crit chance, we're combining it with Viral right now, and this thing, listen, you need to back up like 15 feet. Or just, you know, fall off the edge of the map entirely. But yeah, so as you can see here, it's making pretty quick work of these billies at 150. So, I mean, of course, it's going to do well on the regular star chart, you know. Nothing to really complain about there. It's already pretty gosh darn good. And, you know, if it can take on the star chart, I think that if you take it on 155s, it can easily take on the star chart and anything that you want to do in your sorties. So with it being like right there already, the Tiberon Prime is going to be even better than this. Like, it's going to be sickening. Unless DE decides to do something absolutely crazy with it and completely redo its stats, we're going to have at least this, but better, which I'm very excited for. Now, the last one that we're going to talk about here, and we're gonna like reveal something. Kronen is a really old fucking weapon. It's a really old weapon. And no, I didn't put any forma into it whatsoever. But as we can take a look at the stats right now, it's got a critical chance of 5% and got a status chance of 20%. So DE has a lot of room to play around with stats here. I'm almost thinking that they're gonna cash in fully on status. They're just going to be like, boost this thing up, status all the way. And as you can see, it's got a large slash at its base. The only thing that I think we were chatting about during the stream was the fact that legitimately, this thing has such a low range. And like, if we're gonna do something with melee weapons, you gotta do something interesting. You've seen them do it with the Venka Prime, where they did the increased melee multiplier. Like, there's just so much that they could do with a lot of these new melee weapons. So part of me is kind of like, all right, let's see if DE ups their game a little bit by maybe increasing its base range, because if we take a look at it right now, ooh, did I show my Tiberon build? This is what we're rocking on Tiberon. Sorry, you guys. Nothing too crazy, just a very, very basic build, as you can see right there. But let's go ahead and jump into the Kronen. You can see I'm running this, and I was using a maiming strike in there as well. But, you know, I was doing a little bit of playing around. It does have some status, so I was like, okay, let's go with that. But you can see I have no ranged mods in there, all right? I have a Zippo 0 range mods. Let's simulate this, but actually, wait, hold on. Let's actually pause the AI, because I want to show you, like, the travesty of this weapon. And this is why I did not, like, I was like, oh, it's a cool concept, but do I like it? No. So we're at, like, you know, we have 4 meters. No? Is it 3 meters? No? 2 meters? What? Let's look at this. It's 2 meters. 2 meters? Alright, maybe like 1.5 meters? 1.5 meters to strike an enemy. I'm like, come on. Come the fuck on right now. 3 meters? Nope, 2 meters? I think it's gotta be like 1.5 meters because they step in. And I'm like, that is like a nothing range. So part of me is like hoping and praying, and that's the base range, okay? That's the base range. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, at like a 1.5 range, at a 1.5 range, not even like primed reach would fix this one. Like primed reach would just make it bearable. It wouldn't make it good. So what I'm hoping for with this is maybe a status boost to the Kronen. Like give it a status boost, and then also give it like bonus range on it, because like 3 meters, 5 meters, 4 meters, 4 meters, 4 meters, 3 meters, 3 meters. We got 3 meters, y'all. We can hit enemy with a primed reach. We can hit 3 meters. Amazing. Like, that's fucking fantastic. Now, keep in mind, when enemies are paused like this, they are susceptible to melee. They are susceptible to the melee multiplier, so that number isn't accurate or real at all. But I did kind of want to point out its real lack of range, and if DE were to get creative like they had with previous melee weapon or previous weapons in the past, you know, kind of like how the Ballistica all of a sudden made ghosts. Ballistica Prime made ghosts, Cernos Prime fired off a fan of arrows. Like, please get creative with this weapon and give it a little bit of like built-in range, or maybe its range is attached to its melee combo multiplier. You know, it gets more range the more melee combo it has. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there because, like, you want a slide weapon, but we gotta have a slide weapon that we slide right on top of the enemies, like within a 1.5 meter range, is a little bit crazy. So part of me is along the lines of like, ooh, let's do something interesting and different with that. Now I'm gonna go ahead, because if I'm gonna be frank with you, taking on melee enemies is definitely not Zephyr's strong suit. You know, we've already covered that. So I'm going to show you how this performs with a kind of, you know, like, I won't say a standard build with it. We're going to go ahead and do some condition overload. Really with this, I would probably go maiming strike and do its critical multiplier isn't even all that great. I might do something where I force status chances on it, like weeping wounds maybe. Let's give that a little bit of a shot. But legit, oh, I don't even have room for weeping runes. Well, let's pretend. Let's just pretend there's a decent build on this, okay? So what we'll do real fast is let's go ahead and jump on in. We're invincible right now, and let's see just how it performs, just on its own. And that hurts. As you can see, it's taken a lot to even try to get any kind of procs on this. It's just not fun. Now we could put maiming strike on this and try to make it like a crit weapon. But even then, and let's just be completely frank, even if we put maiming strike on this thing, there are so many other weapons that are better with the use of maiming strike. And even here, look, we're not even applying status as much as we should be. So I'm hoping for like a status increase and a range increase so that we could, you know, do something like run Maiming Strike on it, or even if it's not Maiming Strike, you know what I mean, at least give it some better usability, because as it stands right now, it's got great potential because it is slash based, right? So we could proc a lot of slash with this weapon. However, it's still it's on the struggle bus. Let's just say that the Tiberon was doing fine. This, however, it's not doing as fine as you can see right here. It's not doing nearly as fine. So I'm crossing my fingers that the Tiberon gets a good increase, to it, mainly because of the fact that right now it's not doing well, especially if it's going to be a prime that kind of is iconic with Zephyr because of the fact that it looks like wings. I mean, it's cool, but it could definitely use some work. So what I want you guys to do is let me know in the comments below how you guys feel these, or what stats you're hoping for to see in these primes. Like, again, Zephyr, I'm crossing my fingers that they touch her airburst just a little bit more. I mean, it's good as it is, but to kind of improve its synergies or give it like a really, really cool effect that goes along with it, because right now I'm kind of like meh, right? And in addition to that, I'm hoping to see energy, like a boost in energy and a boost in one of, at least some of the survivability things for her, because here's the thing, she is good at deflecting, but if she gets caught out by something in melee, or if a rocket goes awry, she can definitely take a pretty chunky hit. So something along the defensive lines would definitely be nice for her. As for the Tiberon, I don't know if they're going to double down. Let me know. Do you think they're going to double down on the crit, or do you think they're going to try to balance it out with like status and like reload or something along those lines? And as for the Kronen, like, what can they do to save this? I'm thinking more status and more like innate range, something cool, like a cool mechanic with range. I hope to see that. So go ahead and leave your feelings in the comments below. And that about does it for me for now. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.